Did you know that AI has an opinion about you before you've even asked? I didn't know that before today, and now I know. It's a really interesting piece of information. AI has an opinion about you before it's even been asked. And that's really important because now we're moving towards AI becoming a search engine. Now, why am I, a speaker coach, talking about AI and search engines? Because believe me, if you know me, I am the least techie person on the planet. I am absolutely useless. But I learned that today and I thought that's so interesting, because the number of times that I will either hear someone say this or I will watch someone say this and I kind of go, oh no, we've just missed a massive opportunity. And if you're a business owner and you're out there and you're speaking, if you can understand this little bit, it's going to make a huge difference to how you build authority, to how you develop your credibility, to how people see you, to how people respond to you, to generating revenue every single time that you speak. So just like AI, your audience will develop an opinion of you, and they'll develop it very quickly. So if you're somebody who says, well, I'm okay by about slide 3 or 4, I kind of found my rhythm and I'm okay, or a couple of minutes in, I sort of settle down, my nerves relax a little bit, and I'm feeling much better, and I'm okay, I can kind of take it from there. Or I've seen this multiple times over. Somebody starts and it's a little bit clunky. It's not exactly bad, but they're just not present. And then they get going and suddenly they become incredibly present. Their eyes light up. They become much more animated. Their voices become much more interesting. The stories that they tell become much more interesting to their audience. But they've lost those few minutes at the beginning where they could have connected to the audience, where they might have been able to really capture some hearts and minds, but they've lost it. Now that means they've got to work a lot harder going uphill, basically trying to sort of drag their audience behind them to say, no, I really am good. I really do know what I'm talking about. So pretty much by the time you said, good morning, my name is Emma and I'm the founder of Speaking on Purpose, I help. By that point, it's pretty much too late. Your audience, just like AI, will have formed an opinion about you. And they'll have formed that opinion about you by how you stand, by how you move, by how you walk, by the sound of your voice, by the words that you use, by how much pace there is, by the pauses that you use or don't use. They will have decided, just like AI, exactly what they think about you. And there's a strong relationship. It's called, we refer to it in our business as perceived competence. There is a strong, spelt it wrong, knew I would, dyslexia in action, perceived competence. There is a relationship in everybody's head, which is, if somebody is a strong speaker, if somebody is an authentic speaker, if somebody is really connecting with their audience, they are good at their job. And if somebody is not so great, if they're not super present, if they're not really connecting with their audience, they're not really connected with themselves, or they're disconnected from their message, then they are considered to be not as competent. Now, I really want to be very clear here. There is zero relationship between those things. And you will have been in organizations, you will have worked with people who've been incredible speakers and just dreadful at their jobs. And you will have been in situations where you come across someone who is an amazing person, really good at their job, a real expert, but is a dreadful speaker. So if we own our own businesses, we really want that sense of perceived competence to be high. And it needs to be high right from the get-go, right from the moment you stand up from your chair, right from the moment that you walk on stage, right from the moment that you say, good morning, good evening, or let me tell you about 7 little words. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter what the opening is, but it has to be done in such a way as it's unapologetic. You're not apologizing for taking up space. You immediately capture your audience's attention. Because if we don't do that, then the audience is going to make that relationship stronger in their heads. Not great start, maybe not very good at their job, right? And then, like I say, you've got to work really hard to change their minds, because we're stubborn as human beings. Once we've made up our minds about something, then that tends to stick. That tends to be the thing that we are going to keep in our minds. That person's not great at their job. When we really do capture their attention, they think, wow, that person's really, really impressive. So how do people make that opinion? How do they decide whether you're good, bad, or indifferent? Well, a lot of it is based on what they can see. That's not a very strong colour, is it? Can you read that? No. Okay, that says C. It's based on what they can see. So what do I mean? How you walk, how you stand, whether you're still. I was at an event earlier this week and the speaker was speaking. He came across as perfectly confident, but walked across the stage the entire time, literally from one side to the other, like a caged tiger was the thought that was in my mind. And I was starting to feel slightly seasick. So our ability to stand still and be seen by our audience is absolutely critical. It's saying, I'm not apologizing for standing here. I'm not apologizing for taking up space. So our ability to be grounded, to be still, to be quiet when we need to be quiet is really, really critical. So they'll also see what you do with your hands. So if we end up doing sort of T-Rex gesturing, that little kind of like tiny hands that T-Rex have, if we end up doing this, we're not really taking up space. And it's the sort of physical equivalent of saying, well, I'm really sorry, I do apologize, I hope you don't mind. So they'll make a decision about that. They'll make a decision based on whether you are looking at them. Are you making eye contact? And are you making good eye contact? Eye contact that really genuinely connects with people. When you smile, are your eyes alive? I've seen presenters, confident presenters with dead eyes. And so you get this kind of like really glazed look that doesn't really connect with your audience because they're trying to remember their script in their head. You know, whether you can bring your eyes alive is something that your audience is going to see. Are they going to see you fiddling with your pen, taking the lid on and off? You know, are you constantly jingling a bracelet? So all of those little physical tells are going to show the audience whether you are feeling confident and competent and okay to take up this space. The other thing that we see is the raising up on heels. Going up on tiptoes, back down to your heels, up on tiptoes, back down to your heels, up on tiptoes, back down to your heels. It feels ungrounded to your audience. They're feeling like a little bit like, oh, you know, are you okay? Am I going to have to step in and save you? And we don't want them to feel like that. Or this is the other thing we see. I can't see because my legs are not on show, but I've just crossed my feet over. So I'm crossing my feet and I'm going to put my arms together like this. So I'm now taking up a lot less space. So that visual narrative, that story that your body is telling your audience is really critical for them to decide whether you are credible or not. Yeah, they want to know that you are credible. So how much space you take up will signal to your audience whether you are credible or not. And then when it comes to the next part of it is, what do they hear? What is it you're going to hear? What are they going to hear when you speak? And one of the things that we work tirelessly on when we're working with our business owners is clarity of content. So can you really clearly, really succinctly articulate what it is you do and how it might impact? I've been to a few events recently and I've met a lot of business owners, and I still find it fascinating that when I come away from an event and I'm doing something else, I try to think about the people that I've met. And the people that I remember will be the people that have really succinctly, really clearly articulated what it is they do. Not how they do it, but what they do and why that's impactful. So whenever we're talking about our business, whenever we're talking about what we do, whenever we're talking about our offer, it has to be super, super clear. And from the perspective of our listener, why should they care? Why should they be interested? How is it going to help them? That is really powerful. And when we can do that, when we can articulate that incredibly clearly, then it's much easier for our audience to remember. Right? And they might be thinking, well, I need that in my business. Or they might be thinking, oh, I was just speaking to my friend the other day and she was saying she really needs that. It makes you referable. But when your message, and we are all guilty of this, gets kind of tied up with the detail, when it gets, you want to explain the how and all the intricate little bits because you feel somehow that's giving the clients more value or your potential clients more value. And then when you say the number of whatever your product, your solution costs, that's going to feel really valuable to them. But actually, that complexity has made it harder for them to say yes. So we need to be able to really clearly articulate what we do, who we do it for, and why they should care. Why would they care about this thing that you're doing? So, for instance, I would say something along the lines of, I'm Emma, my company is Speaking on Purpose. I genuinely believe that having a talk that positions you as an authority is the fastest way to grow your business. And I help business owners do that, to build an authority talk that is sticky, that is memorable, that is referable, and that generates a commercial impact, whether that's strategic partnerships or revenue. So hopefully you can see what I do, sort of how I do it, the authority talk, and why you might care about it or not care about it. If you don't happen to be a business owner, or you're not interested in growing your business, or you never want to step on a stage, you can rule it out immediately. Not for me. And that's absolutely fine. But it does mean you're going to start to attract the right kinds of people that you want in your business, only if you can be super, super clear. Now, we also need to have, so we need that clarity of what is it that you're saying, but we also need connection. So do I hear you love what you do? Do I hear energy and excitement? Do I hear pace and pause? Do I hear pause around each of those ideas? So it's not like a stream of consciousness hitting me. Do I hear that you care about me or you care about your clients? That is really, really important. Because if I don't hear those things, if I don't feel like you care about me or you care about my outcome or you see me or you see the problems that I have, then it's going to be, again, much harder for me to get on board. And it's much harder for me to then think, oh yeah, really competent individual. Yeah, really, really good at her job. I definitely want to continue this conversation, or I must recommend you to my friend because she was saying she needs X, Y, and Z. So we have to have those things. We have to be able to see that you're credible in terms of the narrative that your body is giving your audience. We have to hear your offer, whether that's you, an idea, a solution, whatever it might be, in a really clear way. Do I understand exactly what you do? And could I go and repeat that to somebody else? And it has to feel connected. I need to feel, if I'm listening to you, that you're connected to yourself, that you like what you do, you enjoy working with your clients, you're connected to me in terms of the person who's listening or the potential client that's sitting opposite you, and you're really connected to your message. You enjoy what you do, you love what you do, and that energy, that passion comes through in your voice. I cannot tell you the number of times I've heard people say, oh, I'm really excited to be here. It's like, you are? Because nothing about how you're delivering that line would suggest that you are. So there has to be congruency between all of those things. And when there's congruency between all of those things, that becomes incredibly powerful. That becomes someone they perceive as confident. They'll see you as a thought leader. They'll see you as an expert, the go-to person in your area. But if one of those bits is missing, if they can't see and hear those things, then they will take a little bit of a step back and like, oh, that's interesting. So if they don't see the credibility piece, they're like, oh, that was interesting. Yeah, interesting, but not do anything about it. Or if they see the credibility piece, but they're not quite sure what you do. And I've had a number of conversations with people recently where it's like, yeah, seems like a really great person, obviously very confident, obviously very experienced. Absolutely not a clue on God's green earth what that individual does. Not a clue. Right? So I can't use their services if it was appropriate for me, and I can't refer them. So that becomes a waste of a time of having that conversation. As in, they've wasted their time. It's expensive visibility. They're not actually going to get any business return on it. You can see we need to have all of those bits and pieces working. Now, if you are delivering your authority talk, we need that to be working right from the second that you stand up, right from the second that you walk on that stage, before you've even drawn breath. That all needs to be working really, really powerfully, really, really, really well. So my question to you will be, do you know? Do you know exactly what your body is doing? Do you know how you stand? Do you know how you gesture? Have you got any idea about how you move around the stage? Have you got any idea about where your center of gravity is when you speak? Do you know how you're breathing? Because how you breathe will be picked up and reflected back to you by your audience. Do you know how your voice is sounding? Is it embodied or disembodied? Are you able to change the resonance? What's your articulation like? Are you gesturing? What kind of gestures are you using? And when it comes to the storytelling, are you telling good stories? Are they good structure? Are they being told in the right format? Is the structure of your whole piece working? Can you go through everything you do when you are speaking and with real honesty and with a genuine ability to assess? Could you tell me what you're doing well and therefore what you should leverage? And can you tell me what is undermining your credibility and what you need to work on? Now, I'm going to caveat this because when I ask people this, generally they'll go, oh, well, at my stage of career or my size of business or at this, point of scaling, I should be able to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm still not doing this. So they'll tell me all the things they're doing wrong. They often can't tell me the things they do well. But it tends to be like it's the baby in the bathwater. It's like, it's awful. It's like, well, actually, when you're a bit more senior, when you've been doing it for a while, when you've got a bit more confidence, it's generally not awful. It tends to be situational and it tends to be very, very specific. So my point about this is until you know exactly how you're showing up, exactly what you're doing, and exactly what you need to leverage, and exactly what you need to either stop doing because it's undermining your credibility, reduce a little bit, or what new skills you need to bring in, until you know that, it's really, really hard to improve. Speaking becomes a bit nebulous. It's like, well, I just need to get better. It's like, well, great, but what do you need to get better at? So when you know exactly which bits you need to leverage and which bits you need to fix, then you can be much more purposeful in your practice. So that's what led us to develop a few years ago the Speaker Credibility Snapshot. So it's a really, really simple process. And all it requires is that you send us a video. So we send me a video. I will spend 20, 30 minutes reviewing it on Zoom. So you get like a live review, like we were in the room together and I was watching you perform. And I'll review everything. And then I put it all into a report as well and say, okay, this, awesome. Keep doing that. That's amazing. This is fantastic. This is really helpful. Can you see when you did this thing over here, how that didn't quite land? Or I can see your hesitancy when it comes to pricing, whatever it might be. And I can start to pull out the bits that are not helping you and are undermining your credibility, and the bits that are showing up at 2 minutes when really we want them to be showing up in the sub 2 minute section. So the Speaker Credibility Snapshot is your ability to stop guessing. So just to move away from guessing, to move away from kind of going, well, I just need to get better at this, and not really knowing what it is you need to improve. So you might not yet be ready to do the authority talk. Absolutely fine. And maybe the Speaker Credibility Snapshot is a really, really good first step for you. You might be ready to do the authority talk, and the Speaker Credibility Snapshot is part of that process. But if you just want to know, where am I at? What is going on? Then I would really recommend you sign up to do the Speaker Credibility Snapshot. So I've put the link down. Go have a look. It's £250. It's a very inexpensive investment into knowing exactly where you are. So you will know what you need to do. The report will give you 3 areas to focus on. When you get the report back, you'll know exactly what areas that you could start working on that is going to leverage your impact as quickly as possible. So if you take nothing else away from this, I really, really want you to take this away. Your audience will form an opinion of you right from the moment you stand up, and probably before, but right from the moment you stand up. So you can manage that narrative. You can manage that perceived competence by how you walk, how you breathe, how you gesture, what you say, and how you say it. Now, that might sound like it's a lot, but actually, it's going to come down to some really straightforward, easy to learn fundamentals that are going to massively increase the impact that you have with your audience. That means every time you stand up, whether it's at networking, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's doing your authority talk, whether it's on a TEDx stage, it doesn't matter. It just means your impact is going to improve exponentially because you know how to manage this. You know what you need to do to make the impact that you really want to make. I hope that's been useful. It's been great speaking to you. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye for now.